deleted, or you just want to get paid, right? What I recommend you do is you're going to sue the company, the debt collector, you're going to sue the CRAs. So we're going to talk about the process. We're going to talk about, what you may come across. And it's one of those things where we're not going to be able to talk about everything just in this one presentation. This is why I encourage y'all to, get active in the Facebook group. And I'm going to continue to post stuff in the Facebook group related more to the litigation. And that this aspect and this kind of topic is the main reason why I even started a Facebook group, because I understand that I could do a presentation, but it's so many nuances that we won't be able to cover in just one presentation. So just keep that in mind. Just take action. And then as questions arise, we'll be able to discuss that further. But this presentation will definitely get you started. So disclaimer, the process is straightforward with practice. So as y'all do it, you do it for your clients, you do it for yourself, you'll realize like it's muscle memory. It's just the nuances or difficulties happens to be in the responses that you're going to get. So it takes time. You send out a notice, you're waiting 14 to 30 days, you send out a motion, they send out a motion, you send out a motion, you're going back and forth. It could take months and things like that. So this is why you want to take action quickly. So attorneys are going to test you, right? They're going to test you because most people don't know their rights. Most people don't know the law. So this is why you're here. And this is why we have the Facebook group. I'm not saying I came across every situation in the world, obviously, but I've come across certain situations that I've been able to just reflect on. And I've noticed some consistencies in certain ways that attorneys tend to attack you when they know that you're filing pro se. So that's what the beauty of the Facebook group will be. Don't sleep with this information. Please take some action. Just like we discussed in week 1 and week 2, same thing here, definitely take action. And my goal is that, everybody here, if you haven't already, will begin the process of suing Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, and at least a couple of debt collectors here and there. So purpose. So the whole point of a civil lawsuit, we're doing civil, not criminal. Civil lawsuit is to get remedy for violations. And we're talking about provable violations. You have to make sure that they're provable violations. You can't just say violation and then, get money for it. It doesn't work that way. So you want to operate in good faith by attempting to settle in private. You want to operate in good faith by attempting to settle in private first with a claim, which is your affidavit. So your private claim is your affidavit. I'm going to give y'all affidavit templates that I use, specifically the ones for the CRAs. I've never publicly given that. So that's going to definitely help y'all because you want to tackle CRAs and debt collectors differently. When they don't pay or respond, that's when you bring that claim to the public into a complaint. And your mindset going into it should be that you already won, because in your affidavit, you're going to specify you're going to be seeking a Rule 55 default judgment based off of them not responding within that 14 days. That 14 days happens, they don't respond to all your questions. They don't respond to your request for admissions. We're not going to get too deep into requests for admissions. That's one of the further studying topics, but if they don't respond to certain things that you request of them, then you basically put yourself in a position to request for the entry of that default judgment. So there's certain areas where it differs. I know Texas courts, they automatically enter a default judgment. I think it's Delaware. I'm dealing with Delaware. So Delaware, I believe that you have to actually send out a notice. So we'll get into it later, but this is the importance of knowing the local rules per court. Texas might be one way, Delaware might be a different way. So you just got to understand wherever you're suing, they have their own specific local rules. So keep that in mind. So just really continually study and get in the habit of using the skills of Googling, the local rules and things like that. So the mindset with litigation. So like I was saying before, you have to believe you won before you even bring it to the public, because you're attempting to settle in private. You're basically saying, hey, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, remove this item, report it as, 0% utilization, pay these violations. So you're sending it to the debt collector. You've been harassing me, 15 USC 1692C, pay this invoice. So you've attempted to settle the matter privately. So now what's happening when they don't actually do what you say is you're going to be seeking that public default judgment, Rule 55, and it's going to be signed by the clerk. We're going to get into Rule 55 a little bit later if you're not familiar with that. But yeah, like I said, now you're simply filing a lawsuit for enforcing your remedy because you already gave them a chance privately. They're not going to take you seriously if you don't file that lawsuit. You can send affidavits all day saying this, that, and the third. And In a lot of cases, you're going to get the item deleted if you're just going for a deletion. But when we talk about remedy and getting paid, you're not going to get paid unless you actually file that lawsuit, right? So when you file that lawsuit, that's the point of where they might settle privately, or they might go back and forth with you. But as long as they don't answer every question on your affidavit, and they don't answer it to the extent of where they're actually answering what you're saying, and the way that we structure the affidavit, they're not going to be able to answer it anyways. You're going to get that Rule 55 default judgment. It's just about, you have to dot your I's, cross your T's. So that's what the Facebook group and everything's for. So best practice, when you're doing this process, you got to remember that you're the alleged debtor and they're the alleged creditor. So when you're going against a debt collector, bank, etc., you just identify who is who, right? Debt collectors and CRAs, they only win cases based on people's ignorance. So the fact that most consumers, they're not aware of the laws, they're not aware of Rule 602, they're not aware of the fact that you need to be sending out these motions, they're not aware of if they get sued, they're not aware of like Rule 12B number 5 as far as a defense motion, which we'll discuss later. So it's important that you study this information and continue to ask questions and get familiar with the process, so that you can make sure you're in the best possible situation you can be in. Debt collectors will only send you invalidated billing statements with answering your notices. They're not going to reply line by line to your affidavit. They are not going to reply line by line to your affidavit. The affidavit I'm going to give y'all, the CRAs and the debt collectors, they're not going to reply line by line to it. So because they're not replying line by line to it, they basically did the same thing as not replying to it. So what does that mean? As soon as the days, the 14 days, 30 days, whatever you give them goes by, you've gotten your Rule 55 default judgment, but you have to enforce that. Study the local rules of the court of where you're filing, because the rules differ everywhere. So just really get familiar with studying. Don't just assume that every court is the same, because that's not the case. And then remember, there's no statute of limitation on fraud. So whenever you discover it, you can go ahead and enforce it. All right, reparations. So these companies, these CRAs, they've been violating us for years. So we're just calling them out for what it is. There's always a topic about reparations, this, that, and the third. Suing these debt collectors, suing these CRAs, this is reparations 101. The process is easy once you've done it. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of endurance. It's just a matter of not missing these deadlines and, just like I said, dotting your I's, crossing your T's. So basically what you'll do is you'll file your complaint, and when your case gets approved, you have to get a case number, right? If you don't have a case number, you don't have a case. So you'll file your complaint. When your case gets approved, you're going to send a summons to everyone that's involved in the case, and then you'll have your process server serve them. So with we'll look at the summons, but with the summons, you got to understand that you want to include everybody that's in the case. So it's really up to you. But if, let's say, I don't want to name any corporation, but let's say you have a credit card company and you have an issue with them, you're suing them, but it's reporting on your credit as a collection. Obviously, you're going to want to include Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. So they're going to be included on the lawsuit as well. When you fill out the complaint form, we're going to look at the complaint form later on, so it'll make more sense. They're going to be included on the lawsuit. And then what's going to happen is you're going to have to serve everybody. And then you're going to have to send proof of serving all these companies to the court. So you need that on the court docket. And that just shows that you've actually served them. And that just basically is following the procedure, the basic procedure. So you just want to make sure that you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing. If you have 4 people that you're suing, 4 parties, don't just serve 3 of them. You have to serve all 4. So remember that. You can get a process server. The one that I use is Undisputed Legal. I think I'll talk about it later in the presentation, but if I don't, Undisputed Legal is one. And I'll continue to post stuff in the Facebook group as y'all get questions. UScourts.gov is your best friend for locating district courts. You need